Hello, welcome back to another episode of my Garage podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about kind of stuff that's been going on with the war in Iran and just kind of the effect around it. Also, I'm going to be talking about some personal stuff about this week. And just a long story short, this has just been a terrible week for me. And even now, I just noticed there's a crack on my mouse pad, and I don't know, it's just annoying. But uh, also, I started another class this week, and because of that, it's a communications class. And doing that, there's in that class, I don't know, I feel a little daunting. It feels a little daunting because I have to do speeches in that class and memorize speeches. And I don't know, when it comes to that, I, I kind of stutter a lot, and I feel like I look around the room a lot, just trying to remember what I'm trying to talk about. And I feel like that, I hope that doesn't really affect anything and when it comes to this class, and I hope that I'm able just to get a good grade and just get out of there. I'm also recently I just been a little bit scared because as time passes, I'm getting closer and closer to finding out what schools accepted me, and I don't know. Maybe it's just like a bad omen happening right now, and I don't know. It just feels weird because all these bad things keep happening, but hopefully next week's better, and uh, like I can't really predict what's gonna happen. Like it could be good, it could be bad, but I don't know. Just a lot of bad is happening right now. Uh, and oh, sorry, somebody's calling me. I guess not. Maybe it's just a weird thing from earlier. But on March 8th, the Western Intermediate, a benchmark for crude oil prices in the U.S., rose to around $100 a barrel, which is insane because it was sitting even lower before that. But it's cooled down to around $80 a barrel, and this goes to show how great an effect the Israel USA um, Iran conflict has affected crude oil prices and energy prices just in general. And according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, around 10% of gross imports of petroleum, which includes oil, comes from the Persian Gulf. But this is a report from 2023, so it could have changed. And Iraq is one of the top five sources of petroleum imports that the U.S. uses. And so, with this conflict, it's pretty obvious that will have a big impact on U.S. oil prices. And I'll later get into this, but basically, it's already affected gas prices, and gas prices, especially in the state I live in, California, it's risen significantly. Um, and not only does this conflict have an effect on oil prices, but it has heavily affected the U.S. stock market. And as we can see, the indexes in the weeks since the conflict started, have sharply lost a great amount of value. And if this conflict is to continue, as President Trump states, it may be over soon, and policymakers will be able to get a hold of the situation, and inflation will be manageable. And this will affect some consumers, but not on a large scale. If they're able to get a hold of it, and policymakers are able to uh, make sure that there isn't a huge effect on the U.S. consumer. Um, but there has been reports that Israel wants to continue this war until there's a regime change, and this will have a great effect on the United States people, because if this conflict is to continue and we're continuing our support of Israel, then it could greatly affect oil prices all around the world. And as we can see, oil prices, which I'll get into as we get into the video or later on, oil prices affect the stock market very heavily. As we can see, um, many of these major indexes like the Dow, the S&P 500, and the Nasdaq have lost a great amount of value, and most like losing around 1% of their value. And if this conflict is to continue, the stock market could take a huge loss, and it could affect a lot of people. And with an already unstable market in which analysts are having problems, uh, they're having problems valuing the price of stocks, it can make the job of policymakers a lot harder and might make the Fed's goal of getting a 2% inflation rate much harder to get. Uh, I thought my little dog just came out, but I guess not. Right now, what makes this problem even harder and what is adding to the loss of these indexes are is the fact that there has been good news from the AI or tech sector, and Oracle's reporting of their earnings has been making investors and just people are in the AI sector very happy because the earnings report were very good, and they're actually making some type of money, which is kind of different from the last bubble in which nobody was really making money. But we still have to there's still that other side where the money is just kind of being recycled between these companies. Companies are bailing each other out, like Nvidia is investing into Oracle or these AI companies, but then these AI companies are then sending their money back to Nvidia to get chips and things like that. And this is right now creating a tug-of-war situation where the S&P 500 should be able to rise, but because of energy prices and other sectors, such as real estate, facing huge losses, it is dragging down these indexes. And with the Dow, not including Oracle, this is what is driving down prices of the Dow, because we're not hearing any good reports from the other companies, so it's driving the price of the Dow down. And going back to what I previously said about Trump, stating that he could end the war at any moment because he believes there's almost nothing left to do, it makes it so benchmarks such as Western Texture Intermediate do not have to price their barrels as high as they once did, which was nearing $100. And if good news continues, oil prices could fall significantly because they realize it's not gonna be as hard to get the oil out, to harvest it and just process it and do all the steps necessary in order to get oil to the US. And I think what makes this conflict worse for people is that they expected that, or how do I say this? What makes this conflict worse is that there seems to be no timeline, and Trump believes that he could just end it at any moment, but he may be intentionally very vague about the exact days of this conflict and how long it's actually going to last. And because as we know so far, he's just saying, "Oh, it's going to end soon. It's going to we're almost in the ending days," but it's been almost 2 weeks or one it's been a week or two since this conflict started, and we have heard only Trump's word about what's going to happen next and it's going to end soon and all these other things, but there's no exact timeline on each step. And as we know, he started this war without the approval of Congress, and I'm not exactly too sure about that, but as we know, that could make things a lot harder for just businesses and corporations in general to figure out what's going to be happening next when they're being said that the conflict's gonna end soon, but we've heard no exact dates, and it makes it a lot harder to price stocks and things like that. And I feel like because of what's happening right now, I feel like this isn't going to be the last time we're going to be going into the Middle East. It feels like every couple of presidents or every couple of decades, we go in because of what the last president did or what the last leader did, and it causes even more of an anti-American sentiment, and it brings rise to leaders like the one right now in Iran, where in an already unstable country, it becomes easier and easier for these leaders to come in and take a seat of power. And then the US comes along using the excuse that the leader is an anti-democracy and coming in because since the inception of this country, relationships with countries like the Philippines, it believes that it's its duty to save this country. And the whole purpose is either for military power or to make sure that exports and imports do not get messed up in these or other countries that the US comes in and tries to, I guess, like save. Um, and this is an example for the Middle East. Seeing how much an effect oil prices have when there's a conflict, the US just wants to add oh, what the hell? Okay, sorry. I thought somebody was calling me, but I guess not. Um, and altogether, and this just makes oil prices rise without considering the people of those countries and how it will affect them. And as we can see, what happened earlier this year with Venezuela, the whole reason for the conflict may have been because the leader was wanted and Congress approved it, but or because he was a wanted man. But then the U.S. told them once they had control that they could control who they can and cannot export oil to, and that kind of just reveal. I feel personally it just revealed the whole purpose of what why the U.S. was going into Venezuela in the first place, and um, that's kind of it for what I have this week because a lot of the things have uh, just been reports about the U.S. Iran conflict and the U.S. or I'm not exactly sure, but who did it, but they've been releasing oil reserves, so that should be able to keep things all right for now, I guess. But I kind of I I kind of didn't really work on this podcast as much as I could this week because, as I said, it was honestly a terrible week for me uh, because on March 12th and March 12th and 13th, which were Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, were possibly the worst days for me. So first on Thursday, I was about to leave for school. I had called my mom because I noticed that there was a lot of cops in the area around my house, and then my mom asked me like while I was on the phone because she didn't see my car, and I asked because my mom didn't see my car in the morning, and she just assumed that I had left or I was at my aunt's house or somebody else's house, and because she called me and I told her that I was at the house still. She asked me where my car was, and at first I thought she was joking, and I was like, it just felt weird. Um, I would have gone out and somebody just moved my car to a place that my mom couldn't see, and because a lot of people in my house, my family, they like moved my car to get parking spot or I don't know, just like things like that, and so I just assumed it was something like that. But then I went to go see outside if there was anything happening, and I tried to use my car alarm, and nothing was happening. And this is when I started to get a little sweaty because I don't know, I didn't know what was happening. I was like, "Where's my car?" I thought somebody took it. I thought my grandpa took it because he goes to dialysis, and I don't know if his car was working or not because I saw his car, but uh, I didn't see him, so I thought he took my car. And then I went inside and he was there. And then it dawns upon me that somebody stole my car. And I I then called back my mom to tell her what happened. It was like I don't know where my car is. I start to tell her that like uh I I was I was so nervous. I just didn't know what to do because my car wasn't there. And then I call my mom, and then she starts to head home. And then my mom gets home, and she tells my whole family because she's kind of a stress case. My mom, and she starts to freak out and act like it was her car stolen. And this whole time that this is happening, uh, like as I was getting ready to leave to school, I was just in shock the whole time, and because it didn't feel real like that my car is just completely gone. So the next thing I know, my family is calling me and asking how I am, and they're telling me that everything's gonna be alright. And I just think the whole thing's really funny because my car was taken, and even now, or a little less today on Friday, I was feeling it was still funny, but a little less today because I have to start looking for a new car. Because the insurance said that in 7 days, if they don't find my car, um, then they're just gonna report it a total loss. And even now, Um, it's been like a couple days, and they probably stripped my car of every part by now, and just have given everything to it, or taken out everything out of my car. So by the time, if they find it, uh, then there's honestly nothing that I could do, and it just might as well just give me a new car, or the insurance might as well give me a new car. And I still just kind of find it shocking and weird that my car is just gone on Saturday. Um, and then after all this, like after my family calls and my mom starts to figure out, I called the police to report my car stolen, and then I had to go. They said that I couldn't do it over the phone, and now because of this, we had to go to the police station and fill out a report that my car was stolen, and I have to go through this whole process of calling insurance, doing the things that were needed for this, and emailing my teachers about my situation, and just like telling them basically my car was stolen. And as the day gets on, I got a rental car, and I don't know, I'm starting to figure it out more and more. But initially, I really hated it because it's a really fancy car, and the thing feels way too complicated for me. Um, Sorry, I keep getting notifications. I'm just gotta make sure everything's okay, but I guess it is. And it's a really fancy car, and I just don't really like it because it's really fancy and complicated. Um, and that was kind of Thursday, and that's why that day was terrible for me. And then on Friday, why it was terrible for me was I was gaming. I've been really enjoying playing Arc Raiders with my friends, and on Friday I was playing with my friends, and then this is until my grandma comes in, because I live with my grandparents, and she comes in screaming at me like she was about to die, and I had to end up calling 911, and because my aunt, uh, her daughter, I guess, she didn't know what to do, and she said my grandma was telling me like, if this ever happened, the doctor told her to call 911, and just do this whole thing. And so I had to call 911 and and call the paramedics or the ambulance to come to my house. And what also made this worse was I was already scared that day because of my car, and then I live like a couple blocks from a high school, and from my understanding, there was a school shooting on Friday, or there was a person with a gun at the high school, and so there was cops and all that. So I was already freaked out that day, and my grandma screaming at me that she was like feeling that she was about to die, and what ends up happening is I have to go in an ambulance with her to the hospital, and that was crazy because I've never been. It's really rare that anybody gets to go into an ambulance, and I just thought it was funny because it was just like I felt like my grandma was gonna be okay because I just know her. She's just like a little over dramatic, and I just didn't know what to do, so I just called and listened to what my aunt said, and I had to take her to the emergency room, and we end up finding that out that she had vertigo, I think it was, and it just felt like the room is spinning. And I don't really know how to explain vertigo because I'm not a doctor or somebody like that, but that's basically what she had, and that's why the room was like spinning for her. And but overall, this week has really sucked, and the amount of really bad things that's happened to me is just really sucky. But I don't really feel that bad overall because as long as I'm healthy and I'm safe, I feel pretty good about it. And also, I think what makes this worse is that on Monday it's my birthday, and I'm about to turn 20, which is crazy. I'm no longer a teenager anymore, and it's just crazy. Time just keeps flying, and I just don't know how to feel about this past year. And we're just celebrating my birthday over this weekend, and it just feels like a lot is going on, especially these last 2 days. And on Wednesday, kind of getting back to how oil prices have really skyrocketed, which is kind of a bad transition, but whatever. On Wednesday, before my car was stolen, I went to fill up my gas, and as I previously said, I live in California, so gas is already expensive, and specifically, I live in Southern California, and gas is even expensive before the attack on Iran. 91 was around $5, and that's usually what I put in my car. and 87 is like around $4. So it ranges between like $5 and $4. And after this attack, gas prices, uh, even at cheap places like in California, there's this gas station company called Dino, and I just don't know if a lot of people. I don't I rarely go out of California, so I don't know if Dino is a thing around other places, but um, Dino gas station, which is I consider to be a cheap place, was sitting around $6 uh, for 91, and most places were sitting around $6, which is insane to say. Most places are manageable to keep with prices, but this is just getting out of hand. Um, as well, because of this conflict, markets have fallen even more, and as the week ends, due partially to the conflict in Iran, actually primarily due to the conflict in Iran, as I predicted, not only because of energy prices, but also because of the market as a whole, the Dow has lost $429 or 0.91% over the past 5 days, and is now sitting around $46,500. The Dow has lost a lot in the past couple of months. It was sitting at record highs at around $50,000, and I think the most it reached in these past couple of months is like $50,000 and $50,100, and has lost a significant amount of money in these past couple of months or weeks, not only because of oil prices or because of this conflict in Iran, but also just because of decisions that uh, Trump has made, like when Congress announced that, or the Supreme Court announced that it was unjust to have tariffs, and tariffs were his reasoning to be able to use tariffs was illegal. Trump still put another, I think, 10 or 15% tariff on imports and exports in for the U.S., and that has give significant reason for markets to fall, and indexes are facing similar losses, like the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, all being in red over the past 5 days. And just as time passes, I feel like more and more things are just going wrong, and it's honestly it feels a little scary because as a young person, I feel like a lot of us, especially my generation, a lot of us are feeling very negative about what's happening because of the how fast information is spread, especially on like um, TikTok and things like that, and just kind of being able to see how our leaders are taking charge and controlling the situation, and we can see it's just they don't really care about the future generations. They're just making sure that they're able to have profits, and these older generations are able to live comfortably. But as the newer generations, we're not going to be able to afford houses when the average housing prices in California is over $1 million, especially like even in like relatively low income neighborhoods. It's just crazy to see how our leadership is kind of, I feel like it's failed us, and it just feels like the same stories happening over and over again, where prices keep rising and nothing's being done about it to raise income and hourly rates for people to be able to afford these how expensive things have gotten, and most people are living paycheck to paycheck, especially people in younger generations, and some may have similar ideals to social Darwinism, in which people are thinking that they didn't work hard enough, and so that's why they're in these situations. But it's just more than that. There's so many more such things to that, when people don't understand and they're scared and they don't understand what's going on, and it just feels like a really sucky situation. And I just really hope that things are able to get better and people are able to realize why things happen, and be able to use their voice to be able to change the future. And that's kind of it. I wanted to record this because I wouldn't have time tomorrow, and it would probably have been the same thing. But I just want to say thank you guys, and please continue to watch and support.